Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, free from the relentless stress of financial uncertainty. No more sleepless nights worrying about bills, no more impulsive spending that leaves you with regret, and no more chasing a lifestyle dictated by others' expectations. Instead, you live with clarity, discipline, and purpose. Every dollar you earn and spend aligned with your goals. Sounds like a fantasy. The Stoics would tell you otherwise. They believed that true freedom comes not from wealth itself, but from mastering your relationship with it. In this video, we're diving deep into how to build unshakable financial resilience using the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. You'll learn how to break free from the chains of ego-driven spending, how to let go of financial mistakes that haunt you, and how to cultivate habits that lead to lasting wealth and peace of mind. But here's the catch. Every piece of advice builds on the last, and missing even one could mean staying stuck in the same cycle of frustration. So stay with me until the very end, because the final lesson might just be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. And if you're ready to take control of your finances while embracing a Stoic mindset, smash that like button and subscribe to this channel right now. Together, we'll turn financial chaos into calm and transform your life in ways you never thought possible. Let's get started. The true cost of financial ignorance. Financial ignorance is a silent thief, one that doesn't just rob you of your wealth, but also of your confidence and potential. It's a slow, corrosive force that eats away at your ability to make sound decisions, leaving you vulnerable to exploitation and regret. The Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, understood the power of knowledge as a shield against chaos. Marcus Aurelius himself urged us to confront reality with courage and clarity. And in today's world, this means understanding the mechanisms of money, how it flows, grows, and can be lost. Without this understanding, we are like sailors adrift on a stormy sea without a compass, at the mercy of forces we cannot control. In personal finance, ignorance manifests in many ways: overspending on fleeting pleasures, falling prey to predatory loans, or failing to prepare for the inevitable uncertainties of life. These mistakes aren't just financial, they're deeply emotional. They create stress, strain relationships, and lead to a sense of helplessness. Seneca once said that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. But how can you prepare for opportunities or protect yourself from risks if you don't even understand the terrain? Financial ignorance is the antithesis of preparation. It leaves you exposed and unarmed in a world that demands strategy and foresight. The Stoics believed that mastery over one's mind was the key to mastering life itself. This principle applies perfectly to money. When you lack financial literacy, you become a slave to external circumstances, market fluctuations, economic downturns, or even the whims of others. Epictetus taught that we must focus only on what we can control. In finance, this means taking ownership of your knowledge and decisions. You may not control the economy or inflation, but you can control how you budget, save, invest, and plan for the future. Ignorance also breeds fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of losing what little you have, fear of taking risks that could lead to growth. This fear paralyzes action and keeps you trapped in a cycle of stagnation. But as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The antidote to financial ignorance is education, a deliberate effort to learn about money management, investments, and wealth-building strategies. Knowledge transforms fear into confidence and chaos into order. Imagine for a moment the freedom that comes with financial literacy. You no longer feel overwhelmed by bills or confused by investment options. You no longer rely on luck or hope to get through life, but instead make informed decisions rooted in understanding and discipline. This is not just about accumulating wealth, it's about reclaiming control over your life. The Stoics would argue that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in freedom, the freedom to live according to your values without being enslaved by debt or desperation. However, breaking free from financial ignorance requires humility, a willingness to admit what you don't know and seek guidance where needed. The ego resists this. It prefers comfort over growth and avoids confronting uncomfortable truths. But as Seneca wisely observed, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Daring to confront your financial blind spots is the first step toward empowerment. The cost of financial ignorance is far greater than any monetary loss. It's the loss of potential, peace of mind, and self-respect. By committing to learn and grow in this area, you align yourself with the Stoic ideal of living with intention and wisdom. Start today by taking small steps. Read a book on personal finance, track your expenses for a month, or consult a financial advisor. Each action brings you closer to mastery, not just over money, but over yourself. And in mastering yourself, as the Stoics taught us, lies the path to true freedom. Expectations versus reality, the root of financial frustration. Financial frustration doesn't arise from the numbers in your bank account or the bills on your desk. It stems from the chasm between what you expect and what reality delivers. We often envision a life where wealth flows effortlessly, where our lifestyle mirrors the polished images we see online, and where success feels inevitable. But when reality doesn't align with this script, frustration takes root. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca, in his timeless wisdom, observed that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. It's not the circumstances themselves that torment us, but the stories we create around them, the expectations we cling to, that reality refuses to meet. At its core, this frustration is a battle between control and chaos. We expect the world to conform to our desires, that our investments will always yield returns, that our efforts will be rewarded as we envision, and that life will unfold according to our plan. But reality is indifferent to our expectations. The stock market doesn't care about your dreams of early retirement, and unexpected expenses don't pause for your carefully crafted budget. The Stoics remind us that peace comes not from controlling external events, but from mastering our internal responses to them. When we tether our happiness to outcomes beyond our control, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Imagine someone who expects a promotion at work because they've worked tirelessly for it. When it doesn't materialize, they feel betrayed, not because of the event itself, but because it clashed with their mental narrative of how things should have been. Marcus Aurelius would advise such a person to focus on their efforts rather than the outcome. You have power over your mind, not outside events, he wrote. Realize this and you will find strength. The solution lies in recalibrating our expectations to align with what we can control. Our spending habits, savings, rate, and investment choices. Instead of expecting wealth to come easily or quickly, embrace the Stoic principle of patience and discipline. Wealth is built not through wishful thinking, but through consistent action, living below your means, saving diligently, and investing wisely over time. When you shift your focus from external results to internal effort, frustration gives way to empowerment. This doesn't mean abandoning ambition or resigning yourself to mediocrity. It means approaching life with a flexible mindset. Seneca taught that a wise man adapts himself to circumstances as water shapes itself to the vessel that contains it. By letting go of rigid expectations and embracing adaptability, you free yourself from the emotional turmoil of unmet desires. If an investment fails or an expense arises unexpectedly, you can respond calmly rather than spiraling into despair. It's also crucial to recognize how much of our financial frustration is fueled by comparison. We look at others who seem more successful, friends buying new homes, or colleagues driving luxury cars, and feel inadequate by comparison. But Marcus Aurelius would remind us that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Their success doesn't diminish yours. Their path has no bearing on your journey. Stop measuring your worth against others' achievements and focus instead on your own progress. Ultimately, financial peace comes not from accumulating more, but from wanting less, or rather, wanting only what aligns with your values and goals. Epictetus urged us to accept life as it unfolds, as if we had chosen it ourselves. By releasing unrealistic expectations and focusing on what truly matters, your effort, discipline, and resilience, you eliminate unnecessary stress and create space for genuine contentment. The gap between expectation and reality shrinks when you stop demanding perfection from the world and start mastering yourself instead. Ego and money, a dangerous mix. Ego is a cunning force, especially when it comes to money. It whispers in your ear, urging you to buy that luxury car, flaunt the designer clothes, or upgrade to the bigger house. Not because you need them, but because it craves validation. Ego thrives on the applause of others, convincing you that your worth is tied to your possessions. But as Marcus Aurelius wisely pointed out, what others think of us is beyond our control and ultimately irrelevant. True wealth isn't found in the things we own, it's found in freedom. The ability to live life on your terms without being enslaved by the opinions of others or the trappings of materialism. The Stoics understood that ego-driven financial behavior is a dangerous trap. When we let our self-worth depend on our net worth, we hand over control of our happiness to external factors. A drop in the stock market, a missed promotion, or even a neighbor's shiny new car can send us spiraling into envy and dissatisfaction. Seneca warned against this mindset, reminding us that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. By detaching our sense of self from material possessions, we reclaim power over our emotions and decisions. Consider how ego distorts financial priorities. It pushes us to spend on what dazzles rather than what matters. Instead of saving for a secure future or investing in experiences that enrich our lives, we chase fleeting symbols of status. This behavior not only drains our bank accounts, but also leaves us emotionally bankrupt. The Stoics would call this a failure to live virtuously, a life dictated by desires rather than reason. Epictetus taught that true freedom comes from mastering one's desires and focusing only on what can be controlled. The antidote to ego's grip on your finances is humility and self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of self-examination, asking yourself why you desire certain things and whether they truly serve your well-being. When you strip away the need for external validation, you begin to see money for what it truly is, a tool, not a measure of your value. Wealth can provide comfort and opportunities, but it should never dictate your identity or happiness. Moreover, ego often blinds us to the virtues of frugality and simplicity. In a world obsessed with consumption, choosing to live within your means can feel like swimming against the tide. But as Seneca noted, it is not the man who has too much who is rich, it is the man who can do without. By embracing a simpler lifestyle and focusing on what truly brings joy, relationships, personal growth, and meaningful work, you free yourself from the endless cycle of comparison and dissatisfaction. Detaching from ego doesn't mean rejecting wealth altogether. It means using money wisely and intentionally. The Stoics believed in caring for externals like wealth without clinging to them. Whether you're rich or poor, what matters is how you use your resources to align with your values and contribute to the greater good. Marcus Aurelius himself lived this principle. Though he was one of the wealthiest men in history as emperor of Rome, he saw his riches as a means to serve others rather than indulge his ego. Ultimately, breaking free from ego's influence allows you to make smarter financial decisions, not driven by fear or vanity, but by wisdom and purpose. When you detach your self-worth from material possessions and focus on building inner wealth, character, discipline, and resilience, you achieve something far more valuable than any bank balance: peace of mind. As you navigate your financial journey, remember this Stoic truth. True greatness lies not in what you own, but in who you are. Forgiveness in finance, letting go of past mistakes. We've all been there, overspending on something we didn't need, making a bad investment that drained our savings, or missing an opportunity that could have changed everything. These financial mistakes can linger in our minds, weighing us down with guilt and regret. But the Stoics, masters of emotional resilience, would tell us that holding on to these feelings is not only pointless, but also self-destructive. As Epictetus taught, what's done is done. The past cannot be changed, but how we respond to it can shape our future. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is not just an act of kindness toward yourself. It's a necessary step toward financial freedom. When we dwell on financial missteps, we create a mental prison for ourselves. Every time we replay those moments in our minds, we reinforce feelings of shame and inadequacy. This cycle of self-blame doesn't just affect our emotional well-being, it clouds our judgment and makes us hesitant to take risks or make bold financial decisions in the future. Marcus Aurelius advised us to waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. In the context of finances, this means letting go of past errors and focusing on what you can do today to improve your situation. The Stoic approach to forgiveness is rooted in understanding and growth. Mistakes are not failures, they are lessons waiting to be learned. Seneca once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Your financial missteps are not the end of your journey, they're the foundation for a new chapter. By analyzing where you went wrong without attaching judgment to it, you can extract valuable insights that will guide your future decisions. Did you overspend because you were trying to impress others? Did you invest impulsively without doing proper research? Understanding the why behind your actions is the first step toward ensuring you don't repeat them. Forgiveness also requires compassion, something we often extend to others but struggle to give ourselves. Epictetus reminded us that no man is free who is not master of himself. To master yourself financially, you must cultivate compassion for the version of you that made those mistakes. At that time, you were doing the best you could with the knowledge and resources available to you. Now that you know better, you can do better. Holding on to anger or disappointment toward yourself only keeps you anchored in the past, when your focus should be on building a brighter future. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the emotional charge tied to your mistakes, so they no longer control you. The Stoics believed in facing reality as it is, not as we wish it were. This includes accepting that financial losses are part of life's unpredictability. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The stock market may crash, an investment may fail, or unexpected expenses may arise, but none of these define your worth or dictate your future unless you let them. Forgiveness also opens the door to resilience. When you let go of guilt and regret, you free up mental energy to focus on solutions rather than problems. Instead of obsessing over what went wrong, ask yourself, what can I do now? Can I create a budget to regain control? Can I educate myself on investing to avoid future pitfalls? The Stoics teach us to focus on what's within our control, and your next steps are entirely in your hands. Ultimately, forgiving yourself for financial mistakes is an act of liberation. It's about breaking free from the chains of the past so you can move forward with clarity and purpose. As Seneca said, to err is human, to persist in error is diabolical. Forgive yourself, not because it erases what happened, but because it allows you to grow from it. Your financial journey isn't defined by where you've stumbled, but by how you rise after each fall. Let go of regret, embrace the lessons learned, and take charge of your financial destiny with a clear mind and a stoic heart. The power of non-reaction in financial decisions. Impulse is the silent assassin of sound financial decisions. It sneaks in during moments of stress, excitement, or fear, pushing you to act without thought. Whether it's panic selling investments, during a market dip, or splurging on something you don't need because it offers a fleeting sense of accomplishment, impulsive actions often lead to regret. The Stoics, however, offer us a powerful antidote: non-reaction. By pausing before making decisions, we create space for clarity and wisdom to guide our actions. As Seneca wisely said, time filters emotions. What feels urgent now will likely seem trivial later. The essence of non-reaction lies in mastering the gap between stimulus and response. Imagine the stock market plunges overnight, and your first instinct is to sell off your investments in fear of further losses. In that moment, your emotions are in control. Fear whispers that you'll lose everything if you don't act immediately. But if you pause, breathe, and allow the initial wave of panic to subside, you'll realize that markets recover over time and that selling in haste could lock in unnecessary losses. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. By practicing non-reaction, you reclaim control over your financial decisions. Non-reaction doesn't mean indifference or inaction. It means acting with intention rather than emotion. The Stoics believed that emotions like fear or greed cloud judgment, leading us astray from rational thought. Epictetus taught that it's not events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. When faced with a financial decision, ask yourself, am I reacting out of fear or desire, or am I responding with reason? This simple pause can be the difference between a decision you regret and one you're proud of. Consider how often we let minor inconveniences or provocations derail our financial plans. A sudden expense might tempt you to dip into your savings instead of adjusting your budget. A flashy advertisement might lure you into spending money on something unnecessary because it promises status or happiness. These moments test your discipline and resolve. Seneca advised us to delay your anger. But this wisdom applies equally to any impulsive emotion, whether it's frustration, greed, or impatience. The longer you wait before acting on an impulse, the more likely you are to make a decision aligned with your long-term goals. Practicing non-reaction also builds resilience against external pressures. In today's fast-paced world, we're bombarded with messages urging us to act now, limited time offers, breaking news about economic downturns, or social media influencers, flaunting lifestyles we're tempted to emulate. But as Marcus Aurelius wrote, most of what we say and do is not essential. By filtering out the noise and focusing only on what truly matters to your financial well-being, you protect yourself from unnecessary stress and poor decisions. The beauty of non-reaction is that it's a skill anyone can develop through practice. Start small. The next time you feel the urge to make an impulsive purchase or react emotionally to financial news, pause for just 10 seconds. Reflect on whether this action serves your long-term goals or merely satisfies a fleeting emotion. Over time, these pauses will become second nature, allowing you to approach every financial decision with calm and clarity. Ultimately, non-reaction is about valuing your peace of mind above all else. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes not from controlling external circumstances, but from mastering your inner world. When you practice non-reaction in financial decisions, you're not just protecting your wealth, you're cultivating a mindset of discipline and self-control that will serve you in every area of life. And as Seneca so aptly put it, he who is brave is free. In mastering non-reaction, you free yourself from the tyranny of impulse and step into the power of deliberate choice, living with financial purpose. Insecurity is often the hidden driver behind overspending. It whispers to us that we're not enough as we are, pushing us to seek validation through material possessions. The new car, the designer clothes, the latest gadgets, they all promise to fill a void, to make us feel worthy in the eyes of others. But no purchase, no matter how extravagant, can ever truly buy self-worth. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus taught that true contentment comes from within, not from possessions or status symbols. When we allow our sense of value to hinge on what we own, we set ourselves up for a cycle of dissatisfaction and financial instability. Overspending often stems from a desire to mask deeper insecurities. When we feel inadequate, it's tempting to use money as a tool to project an image of success or happiness. But this is a fleeting illusion. Marcus Aurelius would remind us that external things, whether they're possessions or the opinions of others, are beyond our control and ultimately irrelevant to our inner peace. The pursuit of material validation is like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you go, it remains out of reach. Instead of trying to buy confidence, we should focus on building it from within. The Stoics believed in living according to reason and virtue, not emotion or impulse. Overspending is often an emotional act, a quick fix for feelings of inadequacy or boredom. But as Seneca warned, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. This craving is rooted in a misunderstanding of what truly brings fulfillment. Wealth isn't about accumulating more, it's about needing less. By mastering your desires and aligning your spending with your values, you can break free from the trap of insecurity-driven consumption. Building confidence starts with taking control of your finances instead of letting them control you. This requires self-discipline, a core tenet of Stoicism. Begin by examining your spending habits with honesty and without judgment. Are your purchases aligned with your long-term goals and values, or are they attempts to impress others or soothe emotional discomfort? Marcus Aurelius advised us to strip away the unnecessary in every aspect of life. This applies not only to our possessions, but also to the motives behind acquiring them. When you detach your self-worth from material things, you gain clarity and freedom. Epictetus emphasized that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. The same applies to financial decisions. No possession defines your value unless you allow it to. By focusing on what truly matters, your character, relationships, and personal growth, you build an unshakable foundation for confidence that no financial setback can erode. The journey toward financial self-mastery requires patience and persistence. It's not about denying yourself pleasures, but about understanding their true cost, not just in dollars, but in peace of mind and long-term security. As Seneca said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. When you cultivate gratitude for what you already have and align your spending with what genuinely enriches your life, you free yourself from the endless pursuit of more. Ultimately, overcoming insecurity-driven overspending is about reclaiming your power. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to what you own, but to who you are. The Stoics teach us that true freedom comes from within, from mastering our desires and living with intention. When you approach money with this mindset, every financial decision becomes an opportunity to strengthen your confidence and align your actions with your values. In doing so, you'll find not only financial stability, but also the inner peace that no amount of money can buy. Rewiring your financial habits. Rewiring your financial habits is not just about numbers or spreadsheets. It's about reshaping your mind and breaking free from the patterns that hold you back. Just as the Stoics trained their minds to remain calm under pressure, you can train yourself to make better financial decisions through consistent effort and intentional practice. Habits are not fixed. They are the result of repeated actions, and just as they are formed, they can be reformed. If overspending is your default reaction to stress or boredom, you have the power to replace it with healthier behaviors like saving, investing, or even simply pausing to reflect before making a purchase. Over time, these new habits will become second nature, but the transformation begins with a single decision. The Stoics believed in the power of self-discipline and reflection as tools for personal growth. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to act according to reason rather than impulse. This philosophy applies perfectly to financial habits. When faced with the temptation to spend on something unnecessary, ask yourself, does this align with my long-term goals? Will this bring me lasting satisfaction or just a fleeting sense of pleasure? By pausing to reflect, instead of reacting impulsively, you create a space for wisdom to guide your actions. This pause is where transformation begins. It's where old habits start to lose their grip. Changing financial habits requires patience and persistence. At first, it might feel unnatural or even uncomfortable to resist the urge to spend impulsively. But as Epictetus taught, no great thing is created suddenly. Each time you choose to save instead of splurge or invest instead of waste, you're reinforcing a new neural pathway in your brain. This concept aligns with modern neuroscience's understanding of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself through repeated actions. The more you practice financial discipline, the more natural it becomes, until one day it feels effortless. The key is consistency. Seneca advised that progress comes from small steps taken every day rather than grand gestures made sporadically. Start by identifying one habit you want to change. Perhaps it's cutting back on dining out or setting aside a fixed percentage of your income for savings, and commit to it daily. Celebrate small victories along the way, because each step forward strengthens your resolve and builds momentum for bigger changes. It's also important to understand the emotional triggers behind your financial habits. Overspending often stems from deeper issues like stress, insecurity, or a desire for validation. The Stoics believed in examining these underlying emotions without judgment. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When you feel the urge to spend impulsively, pause and ask yourself, what am I really seeking? Is it comfort? Approval? By addressing these emotional needs directly rather than trying to fill them with material things, you break the cycle of reactive spending. Over time, rewiring your financial habits becomes less about resisting temptation and more about embracing a new way of thinking. You begin to see money as a tool for freedom rather than a source of stress or status. True wealth, as the Stoics would argue, isn't about how much you have, but how wisely you use it. By aligning your financial decisions with your values and goals, you create a life of purpose and stability. Ultimately, transforming your financial habits is an act of self-mastery, a core principle of Stoicism. It's about taking control of your actions instead of being controlled by impulses or external pressures. As you cultivate discipline and mindfulness in your financial life, you'll find that not only do your finances improve, but so does your sense of peace and confidence. The journey may not be easy, but as Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. With each step forward, you're not just building better habits, you're building a better version of yourself. Setting boundaries. Protecting your financial energy. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. Yet it's one of the most overlooked aspects of financial well-being. Without clear boundaries, others will inevitably drain your time, energy, and resources. Whether it's a friend asking for yet another loan they might never repay, a family member pressuring you into financial commitments you can't afford, or even the constant lure of marketers preying on your impulses, the result is the same. Your financial energy is depleted, leaving you frustrated and powerless. The Stoics understood the importance of protecting one's inner peace, and this principle applies just as much to your finances. Saying no when necessary isn't selfish, it's a declaration that you value your own well-being. The lack of boundaries often stems from a fear of conflict or rejection. We hesitate to say no because we don't want to offend others or risk damaging relationships. But as Seneca wisely observed, you act like mortals in what you fear and like immortals in what you desire. This hesitation to confront uncomfortable situations can lead to far greater harm in the long run. When you allow others to overstep your limits, whether by lending money you can't afford to lose or agreeing to expenses that don't align with your goals, you're essentially giving them control over your financial life. The Stoics would argue that this is a failure to govern yourself, a fundamental virtue they held dear. Establishing boundaries begins with recognizing your own limits and priorities. Epictetus taught that we must distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. You cannot control how others will react to your decisions, but you can control how you communicate them. Setting a boundary doesn't have to be confrontational. It can be done calmly and firmly. For example, if someone asks for financial help that you're not in a position to give, you might say, "I'm sorry, but I'm focusing on my own financial stability right now." No. This simple statement asserts your priorities without inviting unnecessary debate. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself not to let external events disturb his inner peace. In the same way, setting financial boundaries protects your mental and emotional energy from being drained by others' demands or expectations. It's not about shutting people out. It's about ensuring that your time and resources are directed toward what truly matters, your goals, values, and well-being. When you set clear limits, you create space for healthier relationships where mutual respect thrives. The beauty of boundaries is that they empower both you and those around you. By being honest about what you can and cannot do financially, you teach others to respect your time and resources while also encouraging them to take responsibility for their own decisions. Seneca once said that he who is brave is free, and there's a certain bravery in standing firm when others push against your limits. It's not always easy, especially when dealing with loved ones, but it's an essential step toward achieving financial freedom. Without boundaries, resentment builds over time. You may find yourself feeling taken advantage of or stretched too thin because you've prioritized others' needs over your own. But as Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. The frustration isn't caused by others' requests. It's caused by your inability to say no when necessary. By learning to establish and enforce boundaries, you reclaim control over your life and finances. Ultimately, setting boundaries is about aligning your actions with your values. It's about recognizing that protecting your financial energy isn't just practical. It's essential for living a life of purpose and integrity. The Stoics would remind us that our resources, like our time, are finite and should be spent wisely. When you learn to say no without guilt or hesitation, you're not only safeguarding your finances, but also cultivating the discipline and self-respect needed to thrive in every aspect of life. Choosing what deserves your financial attention. Not every financial opportunity or expense deserves your attention or your money. In a world filled with endless options, from investment opportunities to consumer temptations, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and distracted. The Stoics, however, offer a timeless principle that can guide us. Focus only on what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius taught us to ignore what doesn't concern us, and this wisdom is invaluable when applied to personal finance. By aligning your financial decisions with your core values and long-term goals, you can cut through the noise and direct your resources where they will have the greatest impact. The first step in choosing what deserves your financial attention is clarity. Without clear goals, it's impossible to differentiate between what is essential and what is merely a distraction. Imagine you're saving for a down payment on a home but find yourself tempted by the latest tech gadgets or luxury vacations. These expenses may bring temporary pleasure, but they pull you further from your ultimate objective. Seneca warned against being scattered in our efforts, urging us instead to focus our energy on meaningful pursuits. In finance, this means defining your priorities, whether it's building an emergency fund, paying off debt, or investing for retirement, and letting these priorities guide every decision. Distractions in the financial world often come disguised as opportunities. A friend might pitch a high-risk investment promising quick returns, or a flashy advertisement might convince you that you need the latest product to feel fulfilled. Stoics would remind you to pause and reflect before acting. Epictetus taught that we should question our impulses and ask whether they align with our values and goals. Before committing your money to anything, take a moment to evaluate. Does this align with my long-term financial strategy? Will this bring me closer to the life I envision, or is it just noise? Another critical aspect of choosing wisely is understanding the opportunity cost of every financial decision. When you spend money on one thing, you are inherently choosing not to spend it on something else, often something more important. For example, dining out frequently might seem harmless in the moment, but over time, those expenses could add up to thousands of dollars that could have been invested or saved for future security. Marcus Aurelius would advise us to consider the broader perspective. What are you sacrificing by indulging in short-term desires? By keeping this larger view in mind, you can make choices that reflect your true priorities. It's also essential to recognize that not all financial opportunities are created equal. Some investments or purchases may promise immediate gratification but offer little lasting value. The Stoics believed in living virtuously and intentionally, which means directing your resources toward what truly enriches your life, whether that's education, experiences that foster personal growth, or investments that secure your future. Aligning your spending with your values ensures that every dollar serves a purpose, rather than being wasted on fleeting pleasures. Another layer of wisdom lies in learning when to say no, not just to others, but also to yourself. Marketers and advertisers are skilled at creating urgency around their products, making you feel as though you'll miss out if you don't act immediately. But as Seneca observed, nothing is so honorable as a mind at peace. Saying no to unnecessary expenses or risky ventures isn't about deprivation. It's about protecting your financial peace of mind and staying focused on what truly matters. Ultimately, choosing what deserves your financial attention is about cultivating mindfulness and discipline, two virtues central to Stoicism. By regularly reflecting on your goals and values, you can filter out distractions and make decisions that align with the life you want to build. Remember, wealth isn't just about how much money you have. It's about how wisely you use it. When you focus only on what truly matters, every financial decision becomes an opportunity to strengthen not just your bank account, but also your character and sense of purpose. Separating financial facts from fears. Fear can be one of the most paralyzing forces in financial decision-making. It clouds judgment, distorts perceptions of risk, and magnifies uncertainties to the point where opportunities are missed or poor choices are made. The Stoics, however, understood that fear is often a product of our minds rather than external reality. Epictetus famously taught that it's not events themselves, but our interpretation of them that causes distress. This principle is crucial when applied to finance. Separating financial facts from fears is not just about calming your nerves. It's about reclaiming control over your decisions and building a foundation of clarity and confidence. When fear takes hold, it often amplifies the unknown. A sudden market downturn might feel like the end of your financial stability, or an unexpected expense might appear as a catastrophe. But these reactions are rarely rooted in fact. They're emotional responses to uncertainty. Marcus Aurelius would remind us to pause and ask, what is within my control? By focusing on actionable steps, like reviewing your budget, diversifying investments, or seeking professional advice, you shift your attention from fear-driven paralysis to rational problem-solving. Fear thrives in the absence of knowledge, but knowledge dispels uncertainty. Education is one of the most powerful tools for separating facts from fears. Many financial anxieties stem from a lack of understanding about how money works, how markets fluctuate, how interest accumulates, or how long-term strategies can mitigate short-term losses. The Stoics believed in arming themselves with reason and wisdom to face life's challenges. Similarly, educating yourself about personal finance transforms vague worries into manageable realities. When you understand the mechanics of investing, for example, you're less likely to panic during a market dip because you know it's part of a broader cycle. Fear also distorts opportunity by making risks seem larger than they are. Epictetus emphasized that we must examine our beliefs critically. Is this fear based on fact or assumption? For instance, someone might avoid investing altogether because they fear losing money, yet they fail to consider the long-term cost of not investing, missing out on compounding growth and financial security. By questioning these assumptions and grounding decisions in evidence rather than emotion, you can see opportunities for what they truly are: calculated risks with potential rewards. The Stoics also teach us to embrace what we cannot control while mastering what we can. In finance, this means accepting that markets will fluctuate, economies will shift, and unexpected expenses will arise. However, you can control how you prepare for these uncertainties by building an emergency fund, diversifying investments, or living within your means. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Fear loses its grip when you focus on what's actionable rather than obsessing over what's unpredictable. Another way to separate financial facts from fears is through mindfulness, a practice deeply aligned with Stoic philosophy. When faced with a financial decision that triggers anxiety, take a moment to breathe and assess the situation objectively. Ask yourself, what do I know to be true? What am I assuming? Often, you'll find that your fears are based on worst-case scenarios rather than likely outcomes. By grounding yourself in the present moment and focusing on facts, you can make decisions with clarity instead of being swayed by emotional turbulence. Ultimately, separating financial facts from fears is about cultivating courage and resilience. The very virtues the Stoics held dear. Courage doesn't mean eliminating fear, it means acting wisely despite it. Resilience doesn't mean avoiding challenges, it means adapting to them with strength and clarity. By educating yourself about money, management, and questioning the narratives fear creates in your mind, you build a financial mindset rooted in reason rather than emotion. As Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Free yourself from imagined suffering by facing financial decisions with knowledge and purpose, and watch as fear loses its power over you entirely. As we wrap up this journey, through the wisdom of Stoicism and its application to your financial life, take a moment to reflect on where you stand. Are you letting fear, ego, or impulse dictate your financial decisions? Are you stuck in the past, weighed down by mistakes, or chasing fleeting validation through material possessions? The Stoics remind us that true freedom isn't about controlling the world, it's about mastering yourself. Your finances are no different. Wealth isn't just about how much you have. It's about how wisely you use it and how aligned your actions are with your values. Every principle we've explored, from setting boundaries to rewiring habits, separating facts from fears, and focusing only on what truly matters, is a step toward reclaiming control over your financial destiny. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The same applies here. You have the power to take charge of your finances, to act with intention rather than reaction, and to build a life of purpose and stability. But remember, knowledge without action is meaningless. The Stoics believed in living their philosophy, not just studying it. Now it's your turn. Start small. Track your spending, question impulsive purchases, or set clear financial goals. Each step forward builds momentum, and with time, these small actions will transform into lasting habits that serve you rather than sabotage you. If this message resonated with you and sparked even a small shift in how you view money and decision-making, don't let it end here. Take this opportunity to commit to change. Write in the comments below. Today, I take control of my finances with discipline and purpose. By doing so, you're not just making a statement, you're solidifying your intention to live with clarity and wisdom. And before you go, remember that this channel is here to guide and support you on this journey of financial mastery through Stoic principles. If you found value in this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who might need these lessons as much as you did today. Together, we can build a community of individuals who don't just survive financial chaos, but thrive in it, with calm minds and steady hands. Your financial freedom is within reach. The question is, are you ready to claim it? Let's continue this journey together, one disciplined step at a time.